$1.36 billion of deferred maintenance and program deficiencies, and a lot of small schools and a lot of schools in need of renovation dollars and additional capacity. So we take all that together and put together a plan that now we start a conversation with the community.
We literally walked every building with a floor plan in hand, usually with a principal or an assistant principal. 4 assessments: building condition, educational suitability, technology readiness, and grounds condition. I'm going to describe each one of those, what they're looking for first, and then we'll start getting into what the results were. So, building condition, probably the most intuitive of the bunch. It's the physical building. It's the bricks and the mortar and the walls, it's the floors, it's the carpet, it's the wall finishes, it's the roof, it's the foundation, it's the HVAC and the plumbing systems. It's the physical structure of the building. Grounds condition is the physical structures on the outside of the building. So pavement in the parking lot. Is the sidewalk cracked? Is the fencing in good repair? Does the playground equipment need a coat of paint? Those kinds of grounds issues. Also looks at drainage. Does the site drain well during a rain event, or is there ponding and standing water? Educational suitability is a analysis. We're asking the question, how well does this building meet the needs of the program that is offered in that building? Technology readiness, I don't have an example for you in this slide, but it's easy to explain. Technology readiness is a look at the technology infrastructure in the building to support the technology that winds up in the classroom in the form of devices and computers and projectors and so forth. When we have those 4 assessments, we roll it up into a combined score. Now, I'll tell you, the cost estimates are driven by each of the individual 4 assessments. So if something got scored down, there's money put toward it in the budget estimate in order to bring the condition back up to a 100. So for all your building condition across all of your schools, scored in a C. You do have some up in the A range, and pulling up there. In fact, you're going to see quite a few up in the A range. But you also have quite a few down there in that F range. Under 50 is a school that, frankly, means that you're going to need to spend more than half of the cost of a new building to renovate that building and get it up to par. Building in that range is something you should be looking at for closure. Okay. Educational suitability, the estimated cost to correct the deficiencies. This means adding square footage. It means adding spaces like maybe a gym is missing, or maybe there needs to be an auditorium, or maybe the equipment in the science lab actually isn't making it a science lab. Those types of deficiencies, program-driven, are $768 million. Technology readiness, $39 million, the smallest piece. A couple of schools hit the 100 mark, and an overall average of 82. They're really evidenced of a commitment to investing in the technology in the buildings. And then finally, the grounds, $103 million. Lowest score was a 16. Point out here, this is the total number, okay? Total number of identified deferred maintenance and program deficiency needs. Does not take into account anything related to additional capacity needed in order to address utilization issues or any reduction in capacity through school closure. It also does not take into account anything related to inflation. Whatever this final number winds up being, you're not going to get it done in 1 year. Right? It's not going to take even one phase. It's going to be multiple phases, and there will be inflationary impacts on that overall cost over a period of time. We will, as this process moves forward, be thinking about how you phase this project, the whole plan in. What is the series and sequencing of projects? This is just today's dollars, what we see right now. And I know some of you have already peeked ahead, for those of you who have not. Elementary schools. This is organized by combined score, worst to best. Middle and high school, also organized worst to best. See Tyner Middle and Tyner High, 56 and 58 respectively. Up here to 91 and 92 for Red Bank Middle and Hickson Middle. You look like you have a question.
Got several.
You want to ask him now, or do you want to?
One, that billion plus, you can't do all of it. What's going to determine the priority and the order in which these buildings and renovations take place?
Good question. The first piece of that is the response that we get from folks that are assembled here and the folks that we'll hear over the coming months, right? What is the community's reaction and where are the priorities that need to happen first? The second is some very physical, talk about dominoes, like this. If in fact you move forward with closing Saudi Daisy Middle School and make Daisy Elementary Saudi Daisy Middle School, well, you first have to renovate Daisy Elementary. So that has to happen in an earlier phase than closing Daisy Middle. The next step in the domino train is that Daisy Elementary kids would be rezoned to Saudi Elementary. So Saudi Elementary becomes Saudi Daisy Elementary. It would be renovated. Now, it doesn't need to have an addition, so maybe you can do that sooner. But we like to say, you renovate and then migrate so that you're not moving kids out of one school and into another building where they're moving into a construction zone. So there's a series of dominoes there, and this isn't even the most extreme example that you're going to see of where things that have to happen first have to come in an earlier phase in order to facilitate what comes after it. So that's another consideration.
If a neighborhood or community show they don't feel like we can afford to do this and not pay taxes, does that factor in any way?
Sure, because at the end of the day, we're generating a facilities plan right now based on numbers with some not an ignorant understanding of the community. We've been here since January. We get another layers of understanding on the nuances that are necessary. At some point, some communities have said, okay, that renovation actually is going to mean that we're going to fix everything to 90%, not to 100%, because budget-wise, that's all we're willing to absorb. So yes, this is a political environment in which we're making these decisions. It's how it works, and a uniquely American thing. So part of that conversation is, or maybe you just say, we're going to hit all those schools that are under 60. Or maybe under 70. If you're 70 and above, you're just not going to get a renovation right now because we don't feel like we can afford it. There are ways that you can slice that in order to cut the highest priority out. What we're showing here is that if you go through and get everything,